Hello everyone, Rurikhan here coming at you with another episode of Kast. You guys have probably been waiting for the June episode considering that we had E3 2014 happening and all that other stuff. So I got a couple of updates for you guys, but I do feel that this particular episode is going to be slightly shorter than usual because I don't have a whole lot to really talk about. Because I mean, apart from E3 2014, which was friggin' amazing, not a whole lot has really happened. Or has it? Anyway, starting things off, I'm going to start out with the shout-out section. As per usual, always start Cast with shout-outs. So the first shout-out goes out to Jeremy Markham for donating to the cause. Thank you very much, Jeremy Markham. And then another shout-out to Lynn Haynes for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for your continued support. Lynn Haynes, as well as everyone else that is supporting me on Patreon. If you guys don't know what Patreon is all about, there is a link in the description of every single video that I have ever made. Well, probably not that I have ever made, but every single video that I've made since I have the Patreon thing. There's going to be like a link in the description that takes you to the Patreon page. If you guys are curious about that, you can check out what that is about there. So one of the first topics that I wanted to talk about in this particular Cast is obviously E3 2014, which takes place in June. I've already made quite a couple of videos on it, tell you guys my opinions on some of the titles that were released, some of the titles that kind of stuck out to me, and people have asked me for a couple of more titles, but I haven't really been working on that as much because I've been working on some other stuff. It hasn't really been easy. I've been keeping myself super busy these past couple of days, which is pretty much the same way that I always keep myself. I'm busy all the friggin' time. A lot of times I feel like I need to organize myself better because I just look at the time and the things that I've achieved, that I've successfully done, and I feel like I could have done a lot more with my time. You know, I'm a little bit messy, let's put it like that. But anyways, in regards to what I want to talk about, E3 2014, I'm just going to go through some of the, just the press conference stuff, just give my opinions on the press conference, as well as mention some of the games that kind of stuck out to me. So the first conference was obviously Microsoft's, and I felt that Microsoft had a really strong conference this year around, particularly because it was just games all over the friggin' place. Games, third party, first party games all up in your face. And it had a really good showing, in my opinion. I did not expect that from Microsoft. As a matter of fact, I took, since the start of this year, pretty much, I was thinking about, I need to expand my horizons a little bit. So right now I'm covering PC as well as PlayStation, and I wanted this year to start covering another platform on top of that. I mean, you guys know, those of you who've been supporting me on Patreon, you guys know that I have the objective to eventually purchase a Wii U and a Xbox One. So I thought, like, okay, so this E3, I'm going to decide the next console that I'm going to purchase. And Microsoft was a pretty strong contender, as well as Nintendo, obviously, because Nintendo still had a great show. But let's talk about the rest of the conferences. So, I mean, there are two games that really kind of stuck out from the Microsoft press conference, and one of those games was, what was the name of it again? It was the Scalebound. Scalebound definitely kind of like jumped out at me instantly. And the other game was, damn it, what was the name of it? Phantom Dust. Yes, Phantom Dust. And they didn't really show gameplay of Phantom Dust. They showed a trailer, and then I went and watched some footage of the previous Phantom Dust title, just to kind of like get an idea of what that looked like. And it looked like it was pretty interesting, so I could see that an updated version of that would be something that I could kind of get into. But of course, those are two games that are going to be Xbox exclusive. So after the Xbox presentation, we had EA's presentation, which I actually thought was pretty poor. I know that a lot of people liked it because it had some cool stuff. Yeah, there was cool stuff in there, but let's face it. I mean, Star Wars Battlefront is something that I'm curious to see what they do with it, but they didn't really show that much. Dragon Age Inquisition is something that I've been kind of slowly growing into the idea, because it wasn't something that I've been excited to since the get-go, I have to be honest. But I did kind of liked what I saw in the presentation, both on EA as well. It was in other presentations, I believe. So yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition was also pretty cool. Then they kind of teased a little bit about Mass Effect and a new title they're working on, and they showed almost nothing of any of those things. So it's not like I can really get too much excited about that. But obviously Mass Effect, I love Mass Effect. I think Mass Effect's freaking amazing. So I am excited about that. And then apart from that, I can't really remember anything else that interests me that much. I'm just going by head, by the way. I don't have any notes regarding the press conference. I feel it's more like this way. It definitely shows, okay, these games left an impact because I remember them. I mean, I remember some more of the stuff that they shown. It was just like The Sims, which I don't like. A lot of sports games, which I don't care for. Well, I guess it was UFC. UFC looked pretty interesting. I like UFC because of the violence. I don't know which other way to put it. I mean, one of my favorite things in UFC, I've played some UFC titles in the previous generation, and one of my favorite things is just when you actually throw someone down and just like start beating the crap out of them. That's what I like. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sick person, but whatever. Next up was the Ubisoft press conference, and that... well, there was Assassin's Creed there, I guess, which Assassin's Creed looks kind of cool with the co-op. I'm not sure if that's going to be campaign or not still, so not really sure if I care about that. Far Cry 4 also looks really interesting, particularly the co-op stuff as well. You also had some footage of The Division, but nothing really new was shown. And then you had a bunch of dance games and fitness games and... What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, there was Rainbow Six Siege, which, again, could be interesting, could not be interesting. Don't know. I don't think that the footage that they've shown there was the best footage to showcase for a Rainbow Six game, but I don't know. That might be just me. Then we had the Sony presentation, and interestingly enough, in terms of a presentation in and of itself, it was one of the weaker ones. And why do I say this? I mean, there was definitely really good content there. Definitely some really solid content. I liked pretty much almost all the games that were shown in that presentation. I mean, obviously we have Bloodborne that kind of stands out from everything else, particularly between me and obviously a lot of people in my community for obvious reasons. There were a lot of other titles that also kind of jumped out, but I can't really remember some of them right now. But something that definitely kind of stuck in my mind was when they start talking about this powers thing. And it's like, look, I get it. Why did you spend so much time on it? I mean, someone even said it in one of the podcasts that I listened to. I'm not exactly sure which podcast it was, but they were like, and then there was this guy talking about a comic book type thing that was going to come as a TV series, and it was called Powers, and his power was to bore the shit out of everyone. That's kind of like how I felt. Not a really big fan of that particular portion of the presentation. There were also several sections in that presentation where they were like giving you stats and stuff that I really didn't care for. It's like, look, just show me more games, more stuff. A lot of people complained that the Sony presentation didn't have a lot of PlayStation Vita titles on it. And it didn't, in all reality, it didn't. But I kind of felt that the thing is, Sony had to prove itself with the PlayStation. This is the feeling that I got from it anyways. I'm not saying that I'm 100% correct, but I felt that Sony had to prove itself with the PlayStation Vita last year. Like on last year's, did they do something cool with I don't know. Sony's been trying to prove themselves with the PS Vita for the past two E3s, I think. And it's like, they did something at Gamescom too. Definitely a lot of stuff for the Vita at Gamescom 2013. I remember that. And it's like, I don't feel that Sony needs to constantly harp on the PlayStation Vita. This was a presentation more dedicated to the PlayStation 4. Obviously, they also announced the PlayStation TV, which for whatever reason they changed it from PlayStation Vita TV, which was kind of weird. I don't know why they would do that. But to be completely honest, right now, ever since I bought my Japanese Vita that can record stuff, it's like I don't have that much interest. I mean, sure, I would love to take a look at it and like make a video about it, about how it works, all of that. But my main reason for the whole Vita TV thing was to be able to capture PlayStation Vita footage, as a lot of you guys know. And now I can do that on my PlayStation Vita, so I'm not really sure I care about the device in and of itself that much. More from a perspective of telling people about the device. That interests me, of course, but you know, just having the device, because you can do pretty much everything that you can do with PlayStation TV, you can do with the PlayStation Vita. So the only really thing that I wanted to was to record. I mean, sure, it's still a Vita, like a Vita for someone that wants to play Vita games on the big screen, but I can do that with mine too. So again, it's just, I've made an investment on a PlayStation Vita that can record, and at this point, meh. So after Sony, we had the Nintendo press conference, and that one kind of blew me away. I was not expecting to really enjoy it, and there is something to be said there's a lot of stuff that I've been hearing throughout the industry, which is actually a nice topic to get into in a cons cast. So I guess I'll get into it, which is something I hadn't really planned, but unscripted video, folks, as I do pretty much everything on the channel. So first, let's just talk about the Nintendo press conference, and I talk about the other thing that I wanted to talk about. But Nintendo press conference had a lot of games that really I enjoyed watching. Like, you had Super Smash Brothers, which I do like the Super Smash Brothers franchise. I've had it for my Wii, but I never really played it all that much because I was busy with other stuff at the time. But I liked what I've played of it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and the new one that's coming out for the Wii U is looking amazing. I particularly like the fact that you can create Miis and make characters out of those Miis. I think that's a really great feature. I like the figurine stuff, even though it's not for me, but I understand that they're going for another target audience. And I believe I've mentioned this on the Nintendo digital event video, so I'm probably not I'm gonna try not to repeat myself too much. But I like that. I also like that Captain Toad's treasure. It's not treasure hunt, is it? I always get that confused. I'm not sure which one is it. Treasure hunt, treasure scavenge, treasure, whatever. The one, the Captain Toad thing, I thought that was neat as well. Bayonetta 2 is just looking friggin' amazing, and I like the fact that they're bundling it in with Bayonetta 1. The new Zelda completely blew my mind. I thought it looked friggin' amazing. The animation work on it looked amazing. The art style looked just friggin' mind-blowing. The Splatoon game also looked kind of interesting. Not too interesting for me personally, but it did look interesting in and of itself. And what was the other thing? I mean, there were a lot of games that I liked from that presentation. I also really liked Devil's Third. I thought that was pretty awesome. So they have some cool games that are coming their way and that I'm curious to check out on the Wii U. As a matter of fact, I got so curious and so interested in it that I made that decision that I told you guys I wanted to make a decision in regards to whether or not I was going to get an Xbox One or a Wii U. And this is the Wii U gamepad. So yeah, I bought a Wii U. I looked for deals online and stuff like that, and there was a Portuguese store that was selling a Wii U for 250 euros. And the interesting thing about this is it was the Zombie U limited edition. Now, I don't care much for Zombie U. It's not something that I'm particularly passionate about, even though I think it's an interesting game because I played it now and it looked pretty cool. But what did I want to say? But yeah, the thing about it was the price, because here's the thing. This console was 250 euros, came with a game, and it was the black Wii U, so it's got the 32 gigs of hard drive, even though it doesn't matter because I've hooked it up to an external hard drive, a 1 terabyte hard drive, so that I can just put as much stuff as I want in there without having to worry too much about it. And it came with 2 controllers, which I believe, and by 2 controllers I mean it came with this what's this called even, the Pro controller, the Nintendo gamepad professional controller, whatever. It's actually kind of awkward because it's very, very different from the controllers that I'm used to. Because I mean, if you look at a PlayStation 4 controller, look at where the faceplate buttons are, right? Faceplate buttons right here, and the analog stick below them. And you look at the Nintendo, and they're like, no, we're going to do it the other way around. The analog stick on top and the buttons there. Now, I haven't really used this a whole lot. I've only played around with the gamepad, actually, because the only game that I have for the Wii U right now is Zombie U. And that can only be played with the gamepad. But the gamepad is essentially the same thing. It's got, like, the faceplate buttons beneath the analog stick, which is kind of weird. But Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good deal for 250 euros. The console, the Black Edition of the console with the additional hard drive space, as well as 2 controllers and a game. Because, I mean, the Black Edition, normally, the Black Edition in and of itself, with just the gamepad, no additional Pro controller, retails for 300 euros. So I was like, what the hell? And the box was pretty banged up. I mean, I'm going to make a video showing me unboxing the console. Just, I mean, you guys know that I like doing the unboxing videos as well. And you guys will be able to see that the box was in pretty bad shape. So I was like, it almost looks like a used console or something. I don't know. The price was pretty cheap. Was the cheapest I could find on in terms of Wii U pricing. So I thought, what the hell? Let's do it. So you guys can expect to see a couple of Nintendo games pop up on the channel. Hopefully. We'll see about that. As well, I mean, I do know that there is that thing that Nintendo's like, oh, we're going to claim all the footage that's ours and all that stuff, and there's still a big mess with that. But it's like, what should I allow to influence me more? The fact that of whether or not I'm going to be able to monetize my videos, or the fact that I want to be making videos about games that I care. You know, you have to balance that stuff out, and there's definitely a lot of titles that I want to make videos on the Wii U, which is the reason why I went there. And I'll just have to figure out how the monetization stuff is going to work. I mean, if needed be, I can just talk about Nintendo games like this, without any gameplay footage, if that's what they want. And I'll tell you guys about the games, but we'll see how that works. I'll have to kind of like try it out. And yeah, whatever. But definitely, this is going to allow us to bring Monster Hunter Tribe to the channel, so you guys can definitely be looking forward to that. And the other thing that I want to talk about when I was talking about E3 and the presentations and all that was digital events versus live events. And why do I think it's important to address this? Now, there's a lot of people who have been saying, particularly people in in games media, that have been saying, why does E3 still need to exist? And this annoys the crap out of me, because I feel that E3 is about a lot more than just reporting the news, you know? I feel that there is this, it's an event, right? It's a really big, it's kind of a big deal, and it's a nice event where stuff just gets together and people just celebrate games for the duration of E3. And sure, there's going to be people arguing all over the internet about who won or whatever, but at the end of the day, I feel it's a great event, and I feel that the live press conferences on site are something that is an essential and an integral part of that experience. So a lot of people were saying everybody should just do what Nintendo did and just do digital events. Sure, from an economical standpoint, yeah, that might be the most bang for your buck, so to speak. But from a spectacle standpoint, is that really what everybody wants? I mean, essentially, that was a video that had already been edited. It's just a video. Like, I can do a video, and you record the interviews, you record all of the stuff, and then you just put it together, you edit everything together, boom, and you blurt out a video. I have more respect for the live presentations, I have to be honest, and I really wish that Nintendo went back to doing the live presentation, despite the fact of what a lot of people are saying. Because sure, there is sometimes awkwardness on stage, there is all that, but it's E3. It's supposed to be like that. It's part of the magic of E3, so to speak. I don't know, that's the way that I personally feel. I like the live press conferences, I like the fact that they do them. And I want E3 to just remain as it is for as long as it possibly can. I know that eventually things are going to change, and change is inevitable. At the end of the day, you cannot prevent change, no matter how hard you fight against it. But I really, really wanted to just keep E3 as much as it is as possible. And this year's E3 was just friggin' amazing overall. Anyways, I've talked about a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about in this video, so next up I'm going to be talking about some of the titles that are hitting the channel. So obviously we have Soul Sacrifice Delta. That has been pretty much my bread and butter for the past couple of days. I've been enjoying the crap out of Soul Sacrifice Delta. I finally played multiplayer with a friend of mine. We had a lot of fun, even though the first missions were not that challenging because we were a little bit ahead. I've noticed that, particularly in the last episodes of Soul Sacrifice Delta, that you guys probably watched, by the time you watch this video, you will have noticed that I struggled quite a bit with the level 5 difficulty fights. So I'll have to see how I'm going to be handling that. I'm kind of balancing out my character now. slowly raising the life levels so that I have a little bit more defense, because I mean I was getting one shot on a lot of situations, and it is not fun to get one shot. So that is something that I need to work on. Obviously, I still want to do more Tokiden. It's just haven't had as much time to play Tokiden because I've been really dedicating myself to Soul Sacrifice Delta, which I do, in all honesty, like. If I would have to pitch Soul Sacrifice Delta against Tokiden, I would say Soul Sacrifice Delta is the better game, but that does not make Tokiden any less of a good game. There's also the Soul Sacrifice Delta lore that I want to start working on. I still haven't had the time that I want to dedicate on it, because particularly I've been working on this. And by working on this, I mean not just on acquiring it, but on trying to contact Nintendo Portugal and all that. Hopefully I'll have some more news for you guys in regarding to that soon. Then, obviously, we have the elephant in the room, which a lot of people keep asking about. It's like, Rurikhan, what you going to be doing next with Dark Souls 2? And I have to be honest. I have to be really honest. And I would be lying if I didn't say this at this point, but I'm getting a little bit burned out on Dark Souls 2. And the reason I'm getting burned out on Dark Souls 2 isn't even the game itself, which is really just pissing me off. In fact, it's not about the game. It's about this vocal minority that is just... I'm just getting annoyed. I can't help myself because I keep reading comments, despite the fact that I have been hearing basically a lot of the people that I know, both that work in the industry and that don't, they're telling me, look, dude, you need to step away from that comment stuff. Look at what happened to the other guys that have just been burning themselves out. And it's just, I can't keep myself away. And it is very annoying, and I think that I'm not the only one feeling this way. I think that a lot of people in the community are feeling this kind of like burnout sensation on Dark Souls 2, and the reason is essentially that vocal minority that constantly critiques everyone for everything, and it is getting really, really frustrating because I've been critiqued on the first playthrough that I did with the lightning spears, and I even mentioned this on some of my latest Dark Souls 2 videos, that I was critiqued for the lightning spears. And I was like, fine, you guys don't want me to use magic. So I go full melee, it's like, oh, it's a cheap weapon. God, why is the Gurm Great Hammer cheap? Why? Because it knocks people over? It's frustrating when, like, you decide to do something, because let's face it, here's the thing. When I make a build for a game like a Diablo 3, like Dark Souls, whatever, I usually make a build, and even though it's not 100% min-maxing, there is a part of my build that I dedicate to min-maxing, which is like, the build needs to be viable. I need to not feel like I'm struggling through the whole game. Otherwise, it's a crappy build, and I might as well just put some pants on my head and friggin' ladle, and here we go. Dual-wield ladle. Yay, it's gonna be great, and it's gonna take me friggin' 40 minutes to kill anything. But sure, it's challenging. Whatever, it's the repetition. And it's like... it's just frustrating. It's frustrating to have your every choice for a build criticized to no end. I even feel that that might be one of the reasons why Epic Namebro hasn't made as much Dark Souls 2 videos as he's made Dark Souls 1. I'm not sure of this, by the way. I haven't talked to him about it. Nothing. But it's just, I feel that might be one of the things that's kind of like holding him back, because the community is very different now from when it was then. And by very different, I mean that vocal minority has influenced the community in a very negative way. And while there will be more Dark Souls 2 videos on my channel, a lot of people are asking me, when are you going to do with Pally Time? When are you going to do like a co-op run? And it's like, for starters, those things are really hard to organize. I mean, sure, you guys just saw the videos go up last time around. Trust me, those things were hard to organize because we are, is it 5 hours, 8 hours? I can't even remember. I think it's 5 hours apart. Like, I'm 5 hours ahead, behind, ahead. I'm 5 hours ahead of Pally Time from a time zone perspective. So it's hard to, like, juggle our schedules around to get something like that done. And then on top of that, editing that is harder than editing a solo run, because usually we have to like edit, we have to sync our footage together, and if there happens to be a little bit of a delay anywhere, it's a pain in the ass, and it's harder to edit. And then on top of that, I'm thinking like, if we do a co-op run, are we going to do it on normal? Wouldn't make a lot of sense because both of us already know the game on normal by now, and it's probably going to be pretty easy, particularly if you happen to use spells. And then I'm thinking, okay, so what if we don't use spells? Well, then I'll use a weapon, a melee weapon. People are going to say the weapon's overpowered or whatever, or I just run for backstabs, or... You know what I'm saying? It's like the criticism of this vocal minorities just gets into you, the creative center of my brain, and just chips away at it, slowly chips away at it. And I'm just thinking, like, I'm having more fun with Soul Sacrifice Delta, because at least people aren't telling me, like, 99% of the time, oh, you're using that same overpowered offering. It's like... So I don't know. I don't know what's happening next with Dark Souls 2. Obviously, I'm going to go through the DLC when that comes out. I don't think there's going to be a playthrough in between because I'm keeping myself pretty busy right now. I might do something like showcasing a build or something that I've been working on, but I'm not sure which build I'm going to take to the DLC. I haven't figured it out because I just don't know. Like I said, vocal minority chips away at the creative part of my brain. It's just like it's bleeding out. Bleeding through my ears, like my creativity oozing out of my ears from reading all of that bullshit. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, really. It just puts me in a negative mood, and I don't want to do that. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video is obviously Gamescom. I'm looking really forward to Gamescom, but I haven't received any word on the accreditation, and that is leaving me a little bit nervous because, to be completely honest, I've been to Gamescom last year. I went with the Rubber Chicken Games guys who were able to hook me up with a press badge. This time around, that is not going to be possible, so I need to get a press badge on my own merit, and that I know is really hard. I've already sent all the details that I had to send to Gamescom. I told them I've covered your stuff in the past. I know what I got to do. I know that I got to get in contact with these companies, but it's like I'm not going to get in contact with companies without first having my press accreditation, because it's going to be pretty friggin' stupid of me to organize like meetings and like showings of video games and interviews and all that, and then just tell them, oh, looks like I'm not going to be able to make it after all because I didn't get my fucking media badge, you know? And that is just frustrating me so hard right now, because here's the thing, right? Gamescom is separated into two sections, essentially. There's a section that is dedicated to like media for business, for not for, yeah, they call it the business section, but it is essentially for like media showings, media interviews and that stuff. It is just for the media, as in the general public cannot get into that particular area of Gamescom. And what I'm thinking is, if I can't get a media badge to go in there, then I might still go to Gamescom, but it's like, I'm not sure I'm going to do any coverage at all, because it's pointless. Because everything else, I mean, I'm not going to be getting any interviews on the show floor. It doesn't work like that. Not to mention, there's just going to be like millions upon millions of people on that show floor. And I'm not going to be able to interview anybody there because, for one, there are no developers there. There's no people that you can actually interview to ask about the game. There's just like the people who are there to kind of show you the game until they're like, oh, here's the controls for the game, and here's the game, and whatever. You see what I mean? So it's like, if I can't get a media badge for Gamescom, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's just frustrating. But anyways, that really is pretty much it for this particular episode of Cast. Like I said, slightly shorter episode than usual. But as per usual, leave me your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.